Children today will live through 3 times more climate disasters than their grandparents, study suggests.
Here's a summary of the article.
If the planet continues to warm at its current trajectory, the average 6-year-old is expected to live through 3 times more climate disasters than their grandparents, according to a new study released from the journal, Science This Week. The research suggested that children today will live through twice as many wildfires, 1.7 times as many tropical cyclones, 3.4 times more river floods, 2.5 times more crop failures and 2.3 times as many droughts as someone born in 1960, according to The Washington Post. The lead author of the study, Wim Thiry, called the research the intergenerational inequality of climate change. In order to conduct the research, Thiry and 36 colleagues compared the climate risks of older generations to the number of extreme climate events that today's children are likely to experience, according to the Post. In fact, children are expected to encounter an average of 5 times more disasters than people who lived 150 years ago, the study suggests, unless leaders at the United Nations Climate Summit this fall agree to more ambitious policies, the Post reported. With the signing of the Paris Agreement to try and limit greenhouse gas emissions, many people have been lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that the 2°C target is somehow a safe limit for climate change. But the 2°C number is a global average, and many regions will warm more, and warm more rapidly, than the Earth as a whole. Raymond Bradley, NACSC principal investigator and director of UMass's Climate Systems Research Center, said after releasing a study suggesting that temperatures across the Northeast will increase much faster than the global average. Infants in sub-Saharan Africa are predicted to experience 50 to 54 times as many heat waves as someone born in the pre-industrial era, according to the Post. Young people are being hit by climate crisis but are not in position to make decisions, Thiry said, according to the newspaper. People under 40 are expected to experience unprecedented climate crises, facing rates of extreme weather events that only had a 1 in 10,000 chance of happening before industrialization, according to the Post. It used to be a story of, like, yeah, we have to limit global warming because of grandchildren, Thiry said in the newspaper. This study is making clear that climate change has arrived. It's everywhere.
This post received a score of 2,600, with an upvote ratio of 93%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
My parents don't care about their grandchildren. They just want that cheap gasoline. Downvoted, but literally a quote from my mother. My wife and I tried to have kids and for various reasons it didn't work out. We've moved on with our lives, but my parents are very unhappy with our decision to no longer try and have kids, and they get very mean about it. The last time I tried to talk about climate issues with them, my father said something along the lines of, well, you aren't going to give us grandkids, so I don't want to hear nothing about future generations anymore from you. They just straight up don't realize or care how horrible of a thing this is to say for several reasons, and yet they wonder why we aren't close, barely talk anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that. It must be difficult hearing that from your parents.
Honestly, after the 2+ years dealing with them going from difficult parents to absolutely insane, full-on anti-vax, very racist conspiracy theorist, and more, it was almost a relief. It was right around the time I started distancing myself from them, and while it does hurt, it's also been a good thing.
Will the economy be okay?
What about my imaginary green line?
Someone should tell the 100 companies that are responsible for 71% of greenhouse gas emissions.
This point comes up so often that, climate has an automod response to it.
I am just bothered how it gets blamed on regular people. Me not driving a car a few miles per day isn't going to have the same impact as the companies that are responsible for the most emissions. Maybe the people mining Bitcoin could make a difference. That shit takes up a lot of power.
That's how it always has been though. Recycling and everything else, it is your fault for using a plastic straw or whatever. Forget that even if I intentionally did as much harm as I realistically can do in my lifetime is still less than a cruise ship, garbage patch with a flag of convenience, moving mere feet from port one time.
Our grandparents were smart. One easy way to avoid living through climate disasters is to die before having to live through them.
Because there are no grandparents on the planet today.
Well, they're a bit. They will hardly be here for the great finale of the mess they either started or continued.
And that's why I choose to have none.
I can't imagine having kids just to have them suffer on a fucked up planet. I couldn't do that in good conscience.
Awfully optimistic to assume they'll live.
Not actually helpful. The US now has a historic opportunity to pass carbon pricing without a filibuster obstruction. If you're an American who cares about the future of our planet, take 3 minutes and ask them to include a strong carbon tax in the budget reconciliation package to meaningfully address climate change. The US, according to most of the $5.2 trillion in subsidies for fossil fuels come from not taxing carbon as we should. There is general agreement among economists on carbon taxes whether you consider or it is literally Econ 101. The idea, thanks to researchers at MIT, you can see for yourself how it compares with other mitigation policies here. Taxing carbon taxing carbon is also increasingly popular.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.